Okay, so hi there, Doris Yip. I'm so happy that you're here with us today. Why don't you say hello to the audience, and then I'll move on to greet the audience more formally and to read your bio, which is really fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that information with me.
Hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me today.
Thank you. And just to begin with, I just would like to say good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you're tuned in from. And welcome to the Extraordinary Women Guts and Grace, a podcast about compassionate, fearless leadership. And hi, I'm Evelyn Cosme, your host, a transformational life and leadership coach, teacher, and spiritual healing guide. I'm the CEO of Evelyn Cosme International, and I am passionate about helping women achieve self mastery and become empowered to lead not just their businesses or the organizations that they work at, but their own lives first. And then those they commit to lead with guts and grace, what's so needed nowadays with all of the circumstances that we're all experiencing at this time. And I'm really excited because I have today a very special person. And our guest today is, I'm sorry, I'm looking for that wonderful bio. Hold on there. um, and my guest today is very special. One, because I met her some time ago. And don't be fooled by her sweet nature and her soft spoken tone. Doris is a powerhouse when it comes to finances, and everybody in business needs a Doris Yip in their corner and in their lives. Doris Yip is a finance executive with over 20 plus years of Fortune 500 corporate experience. She's got a master's degree in business and finance and a bachelor's in accounting. She's worked directly with executive leadership, such as CEOs and company presidents, to create a short and long term financial plan that aligns with the company's strategy. She has a broad experience from startup phase to Fortune 100 companies, and her experience includes fields of sales, marketing, operations, finance, and technology. Currently, Doris is a virtual CFO, a Chief Finance Officer, and business optimization coach. Her mission is to help women entrepreneurs to create a profit plan. Through her financial mentorship, she reviews every aspect of their businesses and designs and develops a customized financial blueprint that helps them to avoid the profit leaks, which is so key for us ladies to learn to not just work, but to gain profits. And she helps women navigate the opportunities to scale, which is the bottom line of business, learning how to scale and sustain it. The peace of mind that comes from knowing what they need to do and when they need to do it frees them to feel inspired, energized, and to continue growing their businesses. And I appreciate this so much about Doris because, truthfully, in my case, I can tell you I am a touchy feely, abstract kind of person. And although I work in leadership and empowering women, when it comes to finances, I am at a loss. So I appreciate the tips and the strategies that Doris is going to share with us today. Now, to begin with, Doris, what I'd like to ask you, and it's not a common question in the business field, but because of the background that I have, and I want to also inspire the next generation of leaders and people, women in finance, which is not a common thing for women to be in, actually. I'd like to know, what did you want to be when you grew up? And what was it that little Doris played up, and how does that connect to who you are today?
I have always wanted to be a lawyer when I grew up. Maybe part of it is I watch a lot of the movies in the court, Law and Order type of movies or a TV episode. I just feel like it's so empowering. Someone stand for justice and representing their client to really stand up what they're standing for. So I feel very empowered. I didn't get a chance to be a lawyer, but I studied business law in business school, and that is absolutely my favorite class.
Okay, so you did light up when you spoke about
I do like
that.
I do like that a lot.
Have you had the need to use that aspect of your work while you're working with your clients, the entrepreneurs or CEOs? I understand you work also with
Mm.
CEOs who are transitioning from their corporate jobs also to they're having their own business, becoming solopreneurs to begin with. What's your take on all of this law business aspect of your work?
And I think what make me unique is I'm very good at asking the question, the right question, really understanding the root cause, and also make a case to people to see a case for change. Especially when you work in a company or working through with different president head, they have different agenda, what they think is important, but it's always a blind spot they didn't see. So you have to be really clearly articulate and make the case so they can see the possibility and guide them through in the process. So you're not telling them what to do, but you guide them through and they can see it. It's become their idea. So they become like, oh, yes, of course we want to do this, right? So that is part of being the process to kind of help them understanding what do they need, because in every stage of the business it's not a formula fits all. It had to see what you need right now that is particular to your situation that make the most return.
And I appreciate what you're saying because even in my field, working with women entrepreneurs and professional and leaders and helping them through their journey and how they can become empowered, not just at work to improve their performance and that of those they lead, but also with their personal lives. A lot of the times they come to me not really being clear of what the issues are, and
Hmm.
it's through the questioning, and it's
Absolutely.
like you say, it's an art to know how to ask the right questions in order to be able to get to the core of what the true issues are, and then work building up from there and filling in the gaps, as you say. So I appreciate what you just said because it makes total sense to me in
Hmm.
terms of applying that same concept to finances. And I say this because a lot of people don't think in financial terms, and we just figure we're working hard and we're making money, but where's the money going towards?
Right.
I personally had looked at my expenses and I said, how did I spend this much on
Hmm.
just pivoting online? And if I would have known you, Doris, and been able to get that guidance, I probably wouldn't have made so many mistakes. But lessons learned, and definitely connecting with the right people in finance makes the difference. So Doris, what would you say right now? What are the biggest struggles you see in business for coaches and consultants? And like I said, maybe CEOs who are wanting to transition into business for themselves. Share some of your insights in terms of this, please.
So I think for coaches and consultants, they still somewhat trading time for money because it traditionally it just kind of charged by the hour. So they limited themselves what they can do because you only have 24 hours a day like everyone else. And
Yes.
the other part I see is they focus on one type of revenue source. So for example, you may have a consulting engagement with a big company going well, it's a long-term contract, But then times can change. And let's say the company going through some financial situation where they're not going to extend the contract or reducing the engagement, all of a sudden you put all the eggs in one basket and not diversifying. So I see a lot of one point to choke situation that get them to be financially impacted very significantly.
Thank you so much. And that happened to me.
Very
So
common.
you just hit on the nail with that. I had a major contract and something
Mm-hmm.
happened. We were not able to maintain that
Mm-hmm.
contract. And it was out of their control because of
Yep.
a natural disaster actually in their area. And so I had put all my eggs into that basket. It was going to
Right.
be a longer contract. And I so appreciate. So I want to pick your brain. What are the type of strategies that you would recommend for people who tend to do that, to put all of their eggs in one basket? How can they differentiate their income or their sources of revenue?
I think where they need to spend some time is really looking at the skill set and come up with new things that they didn't think about, like a new product and services, new offers. Because right now, what I'm seeing, people are doing well, are very quick to pivot, able to see the trend, what's needing in the marketplace, and offer something right now. So it could be something you never thought about. But once you study and then you research and you're like, hey, this is something I can put out the market, act quickly, not waiting to research too long. I mean, you do research, but not like analysis paralysis, right? So I
Hmm.
think having someone to coach along and figure out what those possibility and then nail down to, hey, what's the first thing I'm gonna do? What's the next thing I want to do? Have a plan. I can tell you a lot of people have an idea. Hey, I want to get the next million. I want to get more client. But when you ask them, they don't really have a strategy other than this is a desire. So what I do a lot of time is either in a corporate world with president head or even an entrepreneur, we really map out those steps. Even people in a career progression, not running the business, I interview tons of people in my team as an executive. They want to, where's your career aspiration? Everybody, young people will say, I want to get promoted. I want to be a manager. And when you ask them the second question, how are you going to get there? What's your plan? I just need to learn more. I'm going to learn more. And there's
Hmm.
not concrete step to say what exactly you're going to do in between and don't really have a clear roadmap to go where they are. So that is where I see across either young people or even president head or business owner, just not really clear the whole step, but have a desire, an idea, hey, this is where I want to go, but something in between does not have any clarity. So that's what I'm consistently seeing.
And I appreciate what you just said because I would not think that a person in finance would specifically guide someone in terms of figuring out new products to launch or new services and helping them to pivot. And that's a great selling point for your company, definitely, because I think when we think of finance, we just think of money crunching, you know?
Yeah, and I think my background is very unique. I'm not the number crunching person, just kind of close the book. What's the report look like? My experience has been more on the creative side, meaning there's a new group coming up, there's a new market coming up. I'm always get assigned to go work on and kind of charter the territory. So I'm always building things from scratch. My experience is not very common and not linear. I deal with gray area every day in my career and then kind of pivoting to my own business. So I think that make me unique in a sense of not just the number crunching, but tying back all the aspect and the strategy, really driving your actions. Without the clarity, you'll be just trial and error. You're spending money left and right. It doesn't get you anywhere because it's not clear. So I think that's the reason why I do a lot more strategy work, but ultimately not just a blue sky strategy, but has a solid blueprint to say how you're going to line up your financial resources to get there. So I think that's where the mirror the two together.
And that's why of a lot of the people that I know that work in finance, I decided to bring you on first to talk about finances because I appreciate how your point of view is so very creative, and it entails. That's why you're an extraordinary woman of guts and grace, and you
Thank you.
definitely because people wouldn't think that someone in finance could have that scope of action and vision,
Mhm.
because I mean, I can tell you for myself, I always think of people in business, it's accounting, it's numbers, but you go above and beyond that. And it's a holistic point of view.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's what I appreciate about it. And that is the capability that many women have. We're multi-passionate and
Mhm.
we're able to bring in all these things. Look at you bringing in the business law aspect of it and helping people create different products and services in order to increase their level of wealth and the potentiality of their businesses, because like you said, it's about scaling, it's about learning how to go about it. So that is a wonderful perspective, and I hope that the audience it realizes how wonderful it would be to work with you to get help in those different aspects of their business. Now, I did want to ask you, we have quite a few questions today, so we'll try and get
Okay.
through them somehow. um, okay, I'm sorry. I just lost my list there a minute. Because I need my glasses. Hold on. Okay, here it is. And what is the number one thing you want to share with us to thrive in this uncertain economy? Because everything that's going on, it's not just in the United States, but worldwide. Share with us your thoughts on that.
I talked a little bit earlier, need to able to pivot quickly. The other thing is you have to really reset yourself. You need to be able to think, act, and do things differently than what you used to be doing. Whatever you're doing before, it doesn't work anymore. So it's a bit of a reality check because the online world has changed and there may be things that you use to operate your business. You have to change your business model. I think first is to have the mindset to be open to it and not panicking and just like, okay, the world changed. Now let's see what I can do. And you're successful before, you still can leverage your skill set and what you have been able to accomplish to go to the online world. You just have to reset and do things a little bit differently. I think the thought process and the mindset is super critical. The other part is having ability to have finances, meaning resources like cash flow. You don't have to think about traditionally just kind of go into the bank. There are a lot of different avenues for finances or getting the capital before you need it. Because what I found is when you get to the panic stage or when your business have been really impacted, you try to get financing, which is not a good position to be. You need to have it before that happens. So always prepare for that. So you have ability to cash when you need it.
Mhm.
So I think those are the key points that I want to make sure people are expanding, not contracting. This is the time that you need to really focus on the actions and not getting kind of shiny object, syndrome and get distracted here and there. And you may heard about, hey, it's someone else doing good, you go over here. And then you heard about something else next week, you go over here because they all sounded good. But the thing is, you have to see what is relevant to you. Something work for someone else may not work for you, but really have the true assessment objectively looking at yourself, and you will find your path, but you will need to look deeper and really focus on that. Once you have that full gear, focus on it. So that's what I encourage a lot of women to do.
And I appreciate that once more because it's touching me closely at heart. And what you just said, I could see the whole story, having to pivot and being so scattered. Where do I
Mm-hmm.
begin?
Right.
Do I set up technology? Do I learn this?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly? And then all these people that are doing amazing things already and have been online,
Mm-hmm.
we're always looking, and it's like a herd mentality. Okay, this person's got the latest craze in terms of online marketing, et cetera. And so everybody goes there. And then I've met people in one group and another and another.
Oh,
I've
yeah,
made great friends, but the reality is my resources and my time is limited, and I have to
absolutely.
focus on
Mhm.
it. Has to pack a punch. Whatever dollar that I may spend, whatever hour of my day that I spend, it has to pack a punch and to generate revenue, which is the
Absolutely.
most important thing. And yes, many of us who are in the service field, we want to help each and every one of us, but we also have to make a living. And that's the bottom line. So, and we have chosen to make a living through this venue. So, getting guidance is so key. And anyone who's listening now, whether right now live or in the replay, please reach out to Doris. She's a great wealth of information and knowledge, and I'm sure she'll be able to guide you with this very interesting, scary aspect of business.
No, I guide things very simple terms. I make things very easy because I have worked with people from all different background, right? I work with tons of people. They're like, I have no idea. I don't understand numbers. I hate math, but I make it fun. I do a lot of fun stuff with my client and also people I work with. And so once they start playing with their money game and they love it. So believe it or not, they really love that. Once they
I
start get into it, because they never imagined the possibility of, because the way I guide things and have them see the number and the business together is very different than you go into a traditional accountant, close your book or tax accountant. This is where it's going to be make a difference. So
and I appreciate that aspect, the playfulness of it, because numbers can be really scary for people. Even
absolutely.
even if you're a CEO, even if you're managing your business and you've learned to manage a budget and do certain basic accounting type of
Hmm.
activities, having the insight of someone that can see beyond our own limitations when it comes to finances is so key in being successful with business. Now, Doris, what is the number one pain point for businesses right now? What do you think?
um I think limited resources sometime, right? Think about an investment plan where with the number you have, with the resources you have, how do you invest? Should I invest in technology? Should I hire people? Should I spend more money in sales and marketing? There's there's something to it that you can look in at. I have a formula basically looking at your profit margin. We can kind of reverse engineer where things you need to be. And so understanding that will be helpful because you may be getting something and then you spend a lot of money on, let's say, build a website or some other resources. Then once you have that, then you let the resources to do marketing, which is very critical. How do you balance them out? You don't just kind of put all in one place. It's the same thing, right? Put all eggs in one basket. It has a formula to think about where you spend your expenses, similar to your household, right? Your money spent on like mortgages compared to entertainment, compare utilities, right? There's a mix of expenses that's a right mix for the stage where you are, so that way you can prepare for it. When you scale, you already have an investment plan ahead of time, so you know, hey, when I get to this milestone, I need to hire a person. So you plan ahead. Everything is planned ahead, so that way you have a roadmap to know how do you make that investment. You know the return is going to get there, instead of scattering once you know to hire. If you hire people when you need it, it's already too late. You have to kind of prepare ahead to know at this step, this is what I need to make. So I make it super simple in a sense of those major decisions, I already map it out for my client. So they know at the time when that comes through, they know what to do. Instead of scrambling like, oh my God, I got these. What do I do? Well, they don't have the backup to, let's say they sign up a major client, but their supply chain didn't really have enough to serve the client, or you don't have customer service, then you are not serving the client because you sign up, but then you don't have the back office to support it.
Right.
So what make it easier is I map out those decisions ahead of time when we're in a calm stage so we can plan out what it means instead of like scrambling like you need to act quickly. So that usually doesn't work too well, and this is where I have learned working in a big corporation. Everything is planned. We know exactly where things are, because think about stealing billions of dollars of business. You cannot be just scrambling.
Of
So
course.
I try to provide those discipline. Again, I make it super, super simple for people to do.
Now, in reading your bio and some of the information, and because I know you somewhat, uh, this is all wonderful for business, but how about that person that on an individual basis would like to develop and increase their wealth? What work do you do with them regarding that?
So I have like two type of support. I have individual that focus on kind of like I'm the wealth coach. I look at different aspect, right? So your income coming from your work, and then investment and taxes, insurance. There are a number of aspects that you can look at from a building wealth perspective. Because what happened is you get money coming in. If the money doesn't grow, build some kind of asset that will have a long-term impact, it will just, over time with inflation and stuff, doesn't really worth as much. So there are strategies that you have to think about beyond just money coming in for your job and then expense going out. So that's the other part. The other thing I do is I do a lot of mentoring before for finance executives. So there are like people graduate from college, they want to aspire to be in leadership, in finance role. I mentor a lot of people on that as well in the past. But I think from a wealth creation perspective, people don't often think about other aspect as far as asset building, right? Because think about, oh, okay, I need to get better pay, get another job. Okay, while you
Right.
get paid more, you also pay more taxes. What are things that you can have building wealth along the way? So just look at more holistically. I think my bottom line is whatever I do, I look at the holistic picture
Great.
of this, not just kind of one aspect, because different person may have a different take of how they wanted to look at.
Now, what's your experience? Because you work at a very high corporate level and, on a daily basis. Now, when you're working with women particularly, what are the trends when women start making more money? They've moved up in their positions, something happened, they came into some money. What are the patterns that you see in women that can improve or that are positive? You tell me your insights about this.
So I see two type. One type of person that will have aspiration to be, but they will kind of tone it down to say, you know what, I don't need that much money to live. I'm very comfortable. I don't need to, get there. So they will gradually notch it down their aspiration and justifying their income level is sufficient and they don't need to think about it. So that's one camp. The other camp will be where they aspire to do more, which is great. And what happened is for those that are able to break that mindset and have been able to give back more to the charity and do more charity work. But those are like a smaller population, because women's very nurturing and caring. We
Mhm.
we will take care of other people first, so sometimes they don't think about themselves as much, and if they need to support their family, then they will probably want to increase their aspiration because they have responsibility to take care of bigger group. But if just let's say this person is single, or life event happened, they're now single, they will tend to be living very much aspiration wise started to tone down a little bit, in the age group, maybe in the 50s, and start thinking, oh, okay, I've gone through my life. I don't need too much. I'm okay. And so they tend to be changing their, like as a child, your aspiration, you changes to
Of course.
someone else, and because just society, other things happening.
Yes, and I can relate to that, and it resonates with me a lot because now that I'm over 50, my priorities have definitely changed.
Mhm.
I've learned to live more simply, and I love traveling, and I have certain things that I always want to keep doing, but
Mhm.
I do focus more on helping family members, friends, or contributing to charities that I truly believe in and the causes that I support. And that's more important to me now than buying things,
Oh
getting
yeah.
new, it's
Yeah.
how
More
many
another
cars
pair
can
of
you
shoes,
drive? Of
another
course.
pair of shoes.
Yes. So you mentioned that you mentor students who are finishing school and are going to venture into the finance industry, and you mentor those. So we're talking about people probably between their 20s and 30s, perhaps if they've done a bachelor's, a
Mhm.
master's degree, perhaps, or even a doctorate. And then what age group do you work with primarily with the group of women that you focus on?
Right now, probably in the 40 plus for business owner. Um, I don't have that many young people. The young people is more through other local mentorship things that I have. Women Leadership Association I joined, so I'm leading some of those just for my own kind of personal development and helping, giving back. Would say because
Of
I have
course.
mentored in my past,
Uh-huh.
and I know how beneficial some of the things that I didn't see, and they were able to show me the path, and I'm able to continue to strive to get to the next level. But for business owners, mostly in the 40 plus.
Great. And I can see that happening because as we get older, we want to pass on what we've learned and to share our knowledge and
Yeah.
experience. And
Hmm.
what better way to do it than mentoring young people who are wanting to venture into any kind of industry? In my case, my background, psychology, education, and leadership. So I do work with a lot of young people. Who have enriched my life so much because it's been wonderful to work with them and see them move forward. And I'm sure you experience
Yes.
that as well.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful part of being who we are now with the experience that we have in our industries. Now, um, what, why do you think if finances are so important, why do people neglect business finances and personal finance as well?
Yeah, I mean the same thing, right? It's probably appear to be too complicated, and it's just like don't know where to start, don't know what I'm looking at, or even you look at something and doesn't know what it means because fundamentally we don't have a finance education in high school. I was teaching some of those education class. In fact, I go to like elementary school and some middle school and talk about finances in the
Wonderful.
past because we just don't have the education. Like Texas, we make it super complicated. So to kind of help us to be not focus on it, but actually the numbers doesn't have to be complicated. And if you break it down, and it can be very simple, and then also focus on what you need, because I know a lot of times we talk about revenue and stuff, but at the end of the day it's the profit that matters. So I
Mhm.
have seen people make top line $1 million business. That would be like amazing. People are like, hey, how do you get to $1 million business? Sounded so amazing. But what I find out is she take home pay 100,000. So on the
Right,
outside it makes
right.
very amazing, but
Hmm.
the bottom line is not. So something is not adding up, right? But obviously doesn't have the knowledge or have the blind spot, doesn't know what to look at. So I think mentally thing is too hard. And number two, the other thing is even people know is important. The common mistake people do is they outsourcing bookkeeping. Outsourcing bookkeeping is nothing wrong because you don't want to spend the time on it. You want someone else to do it, which is great. But outsourcing bookkeeping doesn't mean outsourcing managing your finances. The bookkeeper doesn't
Okay.
manage, they just put everything together, get your receipt, and show you what it is. You still need to ask the questions. and understanding, hey, why I spent so much more from last year, what's driving it, what's going on, right? Looking at the numbers, but looking at the key things that to understanding, because they are not making a financial decision for you. They're just gathering and put it together. Same thing as tax. You file your tax, but they're not tax strategists to tell you, hey, if you will just make these changes, you could save thousands of dollars in taxes. They're not doing that because that's their job is to file it, put things away. It's just more of an organization. So I think in general, people don't understand the different finance professional what they do, accountant what they do, bookkeeper, tax preparer, and like my field is like financial planning is where is more of the strategy side, just not just looking at a number, but I can actually design your P&L, which is profit and loss statement. If I know
Hmm.
where you're going, I can design what the future look like, and then we can reverse engineer all the pieces you can get there instead of waiting after the fact and get the report and say, hey, this is what your number look like. It's too late. It doesn't really help you. It's all history. So I think being educated about those which we're not doing a good job in our society, on that front.
And in terms of the economy and the uncertain times that we live in, definitely many of us are not having the expenses we had before. Like, for instance, in my case, traveling. I don't know if you traveled for your job
Hmm.
at any time, and it can get expensive. So usually, when you have a contract, you include the traveling
Yes,
expenses,
absolutely.
hotel, etc.
Right, right.
So now we may not have those expenses because everyone, even millionaires who have large corporations, are eliminating a lot of those expenses. So what would you say about pricing products and services to kind of like accommodate what's happening right now in the economy? What is your tip on that?
Well, I see people are now actually, especially for event, from pivoting to virtual event, actually they reach more people. So pricing has come down, but what they're able to do make up the difference is in the past you may have a ticket price for conferences and for 2 days and what they look like. But when you go pivot to the virtual, what they are able to make it up is maybe the base ticket is reduced significantly. You got more people, more rich, but on the back end, they're getting more VIP pass, bonus and stuff like that. So you get them to go deeper on the journey, what you can help them with. So you're still not sacrificing your revenue to slash in the half because you want to give back,
Hmm.
but you are able to add value added services, if you will, to make that even more compelling, to make the offer more irresistible. Then they're
Right.
like, hey, first of all, I can do it comfort in my home. And secondly, there are things that, let's say in a conference, really focus on keynote and specific thing. But maybe in the past, if they want to go to the next level, they have to sign up for another class. But now you can package in a way that you give them more that get them to be repeat client that would be more sustainable. You don't want to keep finding client every other day.
Of
You
course.
want to keep the client through the journey. Through the journey, the best way is to continue to give them more value and where you need it and take them to the next level and next level, because as they go up to the next level, then they need more of your genius, right, to go to the next. And so that's how you can nurture along and really build a loyalty and really a great customer base.
Now, what is your experience? Some people are excellent at what they do in the industries that they're in. And when they pivot into coaching or consulting, it might not translate quite well, that their knowledge and sharing it or expressing it or even applying it to their businesses. Would you say that is a lack of training perhaps in what coaching actually is and consulting, or what do you think about that?
And I think especially for if you work in a corporate, there's very much a logistics or protocol how things work, right? When you kind of doing on your own, it's a little bit different. I mean, I would say coaching and consulting for company to individual is completely different business model.
Of course.
And what I found is to have more clarity of the journey, what they need to be. Because when you have so much experience, just like myself, I went through a stage where like, okay, I can teach this, because I know all of them. It's not like I don't. But at the same time, it could be very overwhelming, right? So that's why when I break it down mine, I try to think about for someone absolutely doesn't like numbers, but very ambitious and wanted to run the business to share what they're good at and transform other people. And so how can I take them by the hand to show them those steps to make it super simple for them, so they will be like, oh, now I know what to do. Then I can give them more advanced strategy and go on, because ultimately you can share all this stuff all day long. If they're not implementing, it doesn't matter. So you
Mhm.
need to find it in a way that they feel confident, they have the confidence, and also they are committed to do it, so you can work together. So I think break it down very simple is an art. I can tell you people can make things complicated all day long, but
Yeah.
it takes someone genius to break things down simple. I mean, I really mean that.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of brain juice to get to the simplicity.
And coming from a background in psychology, that's so true, because sometimes simplifying does require a certain type of brain operations in order to be able to condense things and to view things from a different perspective, that can show how the long-term impact would be, because you have a great eye for that. You can see beyond
Hmm.
just standing here financially.
Hmm.
You can see further, so much further, and give clients input and a great insight on that. Now,
Yeah.
going back to what you mentioned about bookkeeping, which I think was a really great point, about how bookkeepers don't necessarily develop strategy for companies. Now, would you suggest someone who's starting in business to do their own bookkeeping and to
Yes.
invest money in a coach as yourself? And I'm not just giving you a plug, but the
Right.
reality of it.
Right. So first of all, is if you outsource your money and don't really know, especially the beginning stage, you have no idea where your money go because you never spend time in looking at it. So always follow the money, so you
Mm-hmm.
know, have an idea. Once you kind of establish, you're gonna get an idea, hey, this is how my profit is, I know where my money coming in, so you get a better sense, and you can outsource this because it's kind of administrative work, right? But what I found is, number one, bookkeeper is not trained to be giving you strategy and give you advice,
Right.
because that's not they've been trained. And so you can't expect them to be, because they're not trained to be doing that. Their job is to ensure what they do is complying with the gap, which is the standard for accounting for how we kind of close the book. Secondly is, once you kind of have a basic understanding, is that's where the strategy comes through. So me and my client, what we do is we do a monthly finance coaching call. Actually, it's like kind of CFO call. So I look at, they prepare the number, we look at the numbers together. I will ask those questions because they look at the number, they don't see what I see. I look beyond the number, I see what's going on 10 step ahead, right? So I can ask those questions. They'll be like, yeah, what's happening, right? So guide them through the thought process. So I teach them how to fish, not just showing them what it is, because the key for making right and sound financial decision is the thought process, how you approach things. So
Mhm.
I know people are really thirst for what to do because things get so complicated. A lot of people are like, just tell me what to do, I will do it. But which we are really lacking, not just in my field, in other
Mhm.
field as well, to really
Yes.
prescriptively showing the really clear and path. And so this is what, from a consultant kind of moving on to online, like you say, they're struggling with, is able to break those down.
Oh, okay.
They
Thank
kind of
you.
tie together.
Yes. Now, what hold on, what is the first thing then that people need to do to get their business finances in order? What give us a one, two, you're good at one, two, three steps. I know
Yeah.
that.
Well, first of all, is you need to get your right structure. What I mean is, do you know tracking the right things? Because I can tell you, I have friends in business where they make pretty decent money, but if you ask them, they have five type of different client. What's the profit for these type of client? Are you better with school client? Are you better with, these corporation? Are you better with these? They have no idea, all matched together. So I think having the right structure so you know the information to track. Once you have the baseline, then you should have a business plan. So let me share with you, most people think about business plan is, hey, I need a business plan because I'm applying for SBA loan. I go to the bank, they ask me for it. So now I'm scrambling, trying to put something together. Or people use the software just to fill in the blank and write their business plan. And hey, I have it. Look at how pretty my business plan is. But that doesn't really justify what business plan does. So what the business plan does is basically look at all aspects of the business on paper, not in your brain, but on paper to share with people what your business is about. Once you have that, it's so powerful because it guides you every step of your decision. Once you nail those down, when the decision come up, you'll be like, that doesn't match with my core competency, that doesn't go with what I wanted to do with my business. So you automatically can select some of those shiny objects flying around every other day, but really core on building that sustainable business. So having the financial tied to the business plan is critical. I can tell you most people do not have a business plan because the perception is only for when I need to borrow money. The business plan actually is for the CEO to make the CEO decision and running it as a business, not a hobby, and really running as a business.
And we're getting close to the end, believe it or not. It's been so interesting.
I really enjoyed this.
I think we could, and I'll definitely bring you on again, and we'll talk about other topics. But um, what I'd like you to do right now is, do you have any special programs or sales going on right now, offers that you'd like to mention to the audience that they can access? And by the way, I'll be posting all of your contact information right below the video in the comments so that anyone who wants to reach out to you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have couple of the offers right now, but I think the first step is to book a free discovery call because I want a better understanding you so we can figure out how best to work together. So I believe in that kind of working arrangement. So we should talk first. Um, and secondly is what I also wanted to share as we kind of wrapping up is one of the things that my mentor have shared with me when I work in a corporate that I think is applies to everything we do is when I as a early career that you always think about promotion. So what he suggests to me is it's not just getting the promotion. You get there, can you stay there?
Mm-hmm.
So, which is absolutely true. So, what I've taken his advice is before I get to promotion to next level, I'm ensuring I'm performing at that level before I
Mm-hmm.
get officially promoted. I think it applies for business owner, right? You may be able to get a great month, 30K month, 50K month,
Mm-hmm.
but next month you may only get 1K. Can you really stay there and sustain? Do you have a profitable business model that enable you to build that sustainable business, not just kind of roller coaster month?
Right.
So I feel that is a very much a guiding principle that's always reminding me that doing all the steps that I prepare myself to be. So when I need to get to that stage, you need to be ready for. So if you want to be a six figure, seven figure, eight figure, you have to prepare yourself along the way to get there because there are skills and knowledge and mindset that kind of propel you. So think ahead. And that's really my journey has been as a professional and business owner is always planning ahead, few years out. I know all the steps in between. So I always know what to do. So that has been served me well and also have the peace of mind. So I know my roadmap where to go. And this is what I do. in personally and also professionally, and helping company and also helping small, medium business owner.
Okay, and I think you gave us there a few tips rolled into one. But the first thing then is to book a discovery session with you, and I'll post the information there. Now, what tips would you give? What insight, what mindset would you share of your own journey and your own uh, success? What would you suggest to women starting in the entrepreneurship journey, or anyone who's graduating, or anyone who is successful already but wants to become an entrepreneur in their own right?
I think two things. Between a working professional to be entrepreneur is just a huge shift as far as kind of mindset, how you operate. So just be mentally prepared for it. And also, a lot of people underestimate how much it costs to start a business. So doing a startup budget is very critical. Not like wait till the end, right? Financial planning started before you started the business. The other part I would say is when you kind of doing the business, especially working professional, we identify ourselves as what we do, right? I am a executive, I am accountant, I'm that. So you associate what you do as who you are.
Mm-hmm.
What I went through a journey, a spiritual journey myself, is to know who I am inherently, my belief, my abilities, and how do you kind of blend them together is beyond what you have done in your job. And I think we, especially for someone like me, have over 20-year experience, you'll be where you identify a lot of what you do. So I think understanding who you are and bring your full self to it, and you'll be so much happier. And also, you're creating something is truly you, and you don't have to copy someone else because you're perfect who you are. You just need to bring it out what you're good at, and then people can see, because everyone has their own talent to be leveraged. So I truly believe in that.
Thank you so much, because you really have nailed what I think is the really most important thing in any field of work, and it's to know yourself. And you went through that journey, and you just shared that that has helped you. And that's one of the things that I do. I help people get to know themselves for
Mhm.
the process of leadership. And so thank you so much for sharing that, because it is a key thing. So many ancient philosophies speak about knowing yourself and how it affects and impacts everything in life, not just business, not just a career, but your everyday living. And knowing yourself, understanding your emotions and your thought process, what triggers you, what doesn't trigger you, and what moves you to action. And it's so key. In your case, uh, I know yourself.
Well, I would
You
say,
have a clarity. You have a clarity of who you are and how you show up and the strength that you have. And I mentioned to you the other day,
right.
you are a powerhouse young lady. You are a powerhouse, and I so appreciate what you have to offer. And that's why I wanted to highlight, and I do on this show, highlight extraordinary women who are contributing, helping others, being successful. And I want to say on the show, she works at the corporate level in a very executive position. She runs her business. She does nonprofit type of work, and she has a family too.
Yes, I got a lot going on for sure.
She is beyond multi-passionate, and she wears so many hats like so many women do now. You know, we have the possibility and the capability to do the greatest things to support not just our families and contribute to the well-being and the future of our families, but our communities and others that we serve by engaging with them and serving them with the work that we do, whether it's service related or product related. And thank you so much. Now, the final words of wisdom on finance. Now,
I would say love the enough the number. Don't think about it's too hard. So when you think it's too hard, you just like, I like my numbers. I like my numbers. I like my numbers. Because sometimes it kind of help you seeing those, because in business that's what you have to deal with. You're here to make money, so you cannot be scared of them, right?
Mhm.
You push them away, welcome them in, be a friend, so that way you can work together. Money at the end of the day is a resources for you to navigate. It's not have any emotion, good or bad, whatever that is. It's just really using it resources. And some people are using it more wisely and then make more wealth. Some people not so much, right? Because some of those lack of education. But at the end of the day, that is what trying to break down those mentally mindset, because if you think it's hard, nothing can happen. But
Right.
I can show you to make it super simple, because that's what I love doing, to let people know how to play the money game, and that's what I'm here for.
Thank you so much. And I love those words of wisdom for closing out the show today. Love the money, understand it, become educated about it, because there's really no true mystery to it. Many of us aren't raised to really
Hmm.
understand money. And there's so many stories behind money. Money's for the rich. If you're rich, you're not a good person, etc. There's all these different
Hmm.
stories that come along with that in order to be humble, in order to do the right thing, you don't have money. Or if you're in a service oriented type of field like psychology or other types of services, you think it's your mission, and you really shouldn't be charging what you're worth and the value of your services. So I appreciate that so much. I love those words of wisdom. I'll probably put together a book of all the words of wisdom of all the extraordinary women that have come on the
That would
show.
be fabulous.
Thank you so much. Any other words you'd like to say before I close out and say goodbye to the audience?
Last thing I want to say is there's just so much going on in the world right now in all aspects. So trying to keep focus on what it matters to you and your family. And I think we all can have encouragement and support each other. I really believe in the community of support. I think Evelyn's building up a great community. We can all lean on each other. So you're not alone, and let's work together.
Thank you so much. And thank you for being here. And much love. I will love the money from now on.
You too. Go girl. I
Woohoo!
I really enjoyed it. I can talk about numbers all day long. Um, I
We
appreciate
know.
you having me, and I have a lot of fun today and sharing
Thank
some of
you.
those tidbits. So
I'm glad you did. And just to the audience, thank you so much for being here with us. I do appreciate you. And this is episode 4 of Extraordinary Women of Guts and Grace, Compassionate and Fearless Leadership, where we highlight the extraordinary efforts and work of amazing women making a difference in their families, their communities, in their workplace, and just blazing a trail of all of the holistic and nurturing elements that women can bring to the plate. Definitely in leadership, leading the way, and so needed right now. And thank you so much again. And I'll be posting Doris Yip's information below this video in the comments until next week on Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Bye. Thank you, Doris.
thank you,
Appreciate you.
Evelyn.
Bye
Thank you
bye.
so
Thanks so
much.
much.
Have a good
Bye.
bye.
I
Bye
have
bye.
fun. Bye.
Bye.